Ashley.
Back to regularly scheduled programming. Yeah, no, it's been a very long time. There's been some guest appearances on the pod. I've had major FOMO. A lot of improvising. Every time I was listening, I was like, a tear was slowly streaming down my face. I was like, I wish I was there.
I always forget that you weren't there for the boys for the Freaky Friday episode. Because it felt like you should have been there.
Well, you FaceTimed me before and after.
Yeah.
But that was about it.
That's true. So, I mean, everybody's just dying to know. How was your Europe trip?
It was amazing. Like, I don't even know how else to put it. I went to Paris first. That was like the work trip. And it was pretty lovely because I didn't end up needing to work as much as I thought that I did. Just because I don't even know why.
Difference, an event.
Yes, exactly. It was like more so event stuff, and I thought I was gonna have to be at the event for 3 days, but instead I only needed to really be there for one of the days, and it wasn't even the full day. And that's in part because Europeans just understand the point of life, which is not to work.
Exactly.
So it was a vibe, for lack of a better term. It was awesome because obviously Matt was able to come meet me out there. So that was really cute.
The first time his name's been mentioned on the pod.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh.
It's always been Court's crush.
True. Okay, well, he's been revealed on Instagram now. His name is Matt. But yeah, so Court's crush / Matt was able to meet me out there. And so that was like a cute little thing. Like, it was honestly very movie-esque, except I like hate those cliche moments. So I tried to like not make it like that. But it was like he was waiting outside of the hotel with the luggage because he arrived a day early and my taxi was rolling up. And like we signed
a literal movie.
The thought of this makes me want to throw up, but that is how it happened.
Really? Because that's like my dream.
No, I know. That's where we differ a little bit.
I know.
But it was amazing. So Paris was great. The sun didn't set till like 10:30 at night. So we literally were up till 2 a.m. naturally every single day. And it's like, I didn't want it to be a favorite city of mine, but it just is. Like,
Paris is amazing.
The way that there's little cafes everywhere you go, the history behind everything. I didn't get to hit as many museums as he did because he had a little bit more free time than me as he was like really on PTO, but I saw obviously like Notre Dame, Saint Chapelle, which is like the really famous cathedral. We went to the Louvre. We saw Mona Lisa. Like, I did the things that like you had to do.
Yeah.
But other than that, we just kind of like walked around and explored and ate a lot of bread, ate a lot of meats, a lot of cheese.
Did you experience the European bread pasta and it actually not making you feel horrible after you eat it?
Yes, 1,000%.
Could you tell the difference?
Oh, yes. Like, even with the wine that I was drinking, I'm like, literally 2 drinks of whatever it is here, I would have some sort of throbbing headache the next day or just wouldn't feel well.
Yeah.
But there, I did not get hungover once. I literally, it's pretty disgusting. I drank every single day for the past, like, month, I think. So I actually saw this trend on Instagram. It might be on TikTok, too, but I personally only saw it in real form, where it was, like, an edit of DJ Khaled's song, another one, or that's just what he says. Okay. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, the song is just like, his thing is like another one.
Yes,
another one.
I don't know what the trend is.
So the trend that I saw was to cheers. Like, if you're on vacation, like cheers every time he says another one.
Yes.
So just like this montage of clips. And so I put the clips together before I put the sound on it. And I had like 40 clips of like, because we did it.
I need to see this. I feel like that's so
like
funny.
Every time we like took a drink, basically we got a drink out, and there was only like 9 another ones in the song, and I was like, what do I do now? Because there's like 40, which is disgusting.
I need to see this. We need to post that on You Can Do Both.
Yeah, except there's just nothing. There's no sound. Like, the sound stops after 9 seconds, except there's like 30 seconds of just clinks. Like, it's awful. But it just speaks to the amount of fun that we had and just how natural it was to, like, you're on vacation, I'm gonna get a drink everywhere we go.
Of course.
And I didn't get hungover once, despite how much we actually drank. And with the food situation too, it's like Europeans, or Europe in general, has a lot more restrictions on what they can and cannot put in their food. So they don't have all the shit and preservatives that we do here. So I ate like shit. And I mean, I feel like shit right now, but I should be feeling a lot shittier.
Yeah.
If I were in the US, I probably would have. But yes, a lot of good eats, a lot of good drinks.
You guys ate the most beautiful but wild looking food. There was something that was bright green with like bubbles on it.
Yes.
And I was like, this looks like a Michelin star restaurant-esque.
It was a Michelin star restaurant.
That makes a lot of sense. I don't even really know. I don't think I've ever been to a Michelin star, but that is the vibe it was giving. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So him and I are both foodies. Like, we actually went to a restaurant in Bordeaux, which is like the wine region of France.
Mm-hmm.
So there we did a lot of winery tours, and it was just like really different compared to like the other cities that we went to. So I'm so happy we did it because it broke the trip up very nicely. But when we were there, we decided to just like go to this restaurant that looked very cool. It didn't look like a cafe like every other restaurant we saw. We're like, okay, let's just go in. It was called Echo. Or no, I'm sorry. The owner of the restaurant, which happened to be the chef, had like a bar set up. So something that you would imagine yourself pulling up to and grabbing a drink. No, it was like his legit kitchen. So he would make the food right in front of you. And it just felt so quaint and special. And like, clearly this guy knew what he was doing, especially he was doing it by himself. And it was just like nothing I've honestly ever seen before. So we walk in, we look at the menu, and nothing was too extraordinarily priced. And we also couldn't understand a word that was on the menu because it was in French. And it was just
That's
like
amazing.
They cook with different ingredients, different types of meats, whatever. And so Court's crush decided to say when the waitress came over, what are the odds we could just get one of everything on the menu? And I was just like, sir?
What did you just say?
What did you just say? And we just had dessert before dinner because we were both so hangry. We stopped at like a pastry shop and each had like a cake to ourselves before this. Yeah, no, ridiculous. But that's what we ended up doing. Mm-hmm. And it was like the most eclectic like food. We had no idea what we were eating. Some of the best meals I've ever had in my life from this restaurant.
Incredible.
We were eating like guinea fowl. Like, what the fuck is guinea fowl?
I don't know what that is. I think I prefer not
it's
to
no
know.
It's like a gamey pig? It's no it's a gamey like bird. Gamey means like less fat on it.
Okay.
And it's not as common as like a chicken.
Okay.
We're going into deep detail that we don't need to go into right now.
Okay.
But yes, so we did eat some interesting things, but that wasn't.
I think that's the fun of traveling.
Oh my gosh.
Especially in a new country.
Especially if you're culture. If you appreciate that type of stuff and whoever you're traveling with is with that type of stuff, it's like, why not?
This is why you can't date picky eaters.
Exactly. But yeah, so that was one experience. And then when we got to Lisbon, which was our last destination, Portugal, our Airbnb happened to be on top of a Michelin star restaurant. It was on like the 4th floor and the Michelin was on like the 1st. So we were like, oh my gosh, like I don't really care about that type of stuff, but he's been to a couple Michelin star restaurants before and just genuinely likes the experience of it. Mm-hmm. So he was like, what if we just like went in and saw if they had any opening? And this is a restaurant that's like booked up months and months and months in advance. And we walk in expecting to get a reservation that night, which like was never going to be the case. But they look and they're like, actually 2 people just canceled for tomorrow night at 8:45. And it's at the chef's table. So once again, it was the bar seating area. It was the only 2 seats at like the bar where they cook in front of you and the entire restaurant. And they were like, do you want that table or whatever? And we were like, yeah. So I couldn't tell you what the fuck I ate. Like, I really couldn't, but everything was to die for. And like at those types of restaurants, you're there for like the experience. Like it's just inspiring to look at the chefs and like look at what they're doing. Like, they're artists. Like, ever since I went, I've been watching Iron Chef on Netflix because I'm like, this is so fucking cool. Like,
changed woman.
How do people know like how this is gonna taste with this? And they work under pressure and they work with different people in the kitchen. And like, I wouldn't have enough trust as a chef, nor do I just have that ability to do what they do. But long story short, yeah, we ate a lot, we drank a lot, we didn't feel like shit, we saw some beautiful things. Europe was amazing. I've officially decided that I want to go back to Europe at least once a year from this point on.
Love. That's a great goal to
I
have.
don't care. It doesn't need to be with Court's crush. Like, I just like need to go to Europe. Like,
it'll be with me.
It's no, it will be with you. Perfect. For sure. But just the lifestyle, like, they don't care about work.
I know. It's so nice. When I was abroad and I worked at an internship in Italy, they openly talked about how you do not live to work, you work to live. And we would go out for coffee in the afternoon for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it was so highly encouraged to go and chat. And how was your weekend? Oh my God, take as much vacation as you need. Oh, you're because you can also travel to so many countries so easily over there. And it's not frowned upon that you're taking PTO. It's encouraged, which is just so different from the US. And I don't know if that's good or bad, like, and their businesses compared to ours, and I'm sure the US, just because people literally their entire lives are spent working.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case over there.
Yeah. No, even so obviously I have an office in Paris, and before I had arrived, I would be like talking to the office and I'd be like, okay, so like we need this answer in order to move on to the next step. And like the event is like 2 weeks away. So like we need the answer. And sir over there was like literally like the head honcho man's. He was like, okay, well, I'm getting beers with the agency guys in like 2 days. So maybe I'll let you know in 3 days. And I'm like, what the actual fork? Like, this is something that is very time sensitive. And like in the US, it would be done immediately. It would be done within the hour.
Right.
But I was like, okay, so I really just didn't feel confident about like what my experience was going to look like. I was like, I'm going to show up to this event. It's going to be an absolute shitstorm. And I'm not going to have a great time. Somewhat was the case, somewhat not. But nobody cared. So I was like, if they're not going to care, I'm not going to care. Because like, who am I? I'm this like little US biatch that's coming in.
Yeah.
I felt like Emily in Paris.
I
was
love
like,
that.
I just got to know my place. Let them do their thing. Although I feel like society and like pop culture makes you think that the French are just like rude people. Have you ever heard of that stereotype?
Yeah, I also experienced that when I went to Paris.
Okay, I did not.
And then I have to ask.
Yeah. What?
So you studied abroad in Australia. But does this change your mind at all? Is there like a little piece of you that's like,
I wish I studied abroad.
Oh, wow, like Europe might have been the move. I see
like
you as an Australian girl because you're a beach girl at heart.
Yeah.
You love the water.
Honestly,
but
I was thinking that. I was like, I thought this to myself like a couple of days ago. I was like, I could have studied abroad in Europe, but I don't think it changes. Like I have no regrets. Yeah, never any regrets.
But now seeing it, I feel like because I
understand the appeal. I never even considered.
You knew you were going to Australia.
Probably would have considered it more.
Yeah.
Definitely would have considered it more, but I think I still would have gone to Australia.
Yeah.
Just because like that's more my speed, my vibe. And the reason why I studied abroad in Australia was because I knew that I could just go to Europe on a whim from the US whenever I wanted.
So true.
So I stand by my decision, but that's a really good question because I also asked myself that afterwards.
Yeah. I feel like it's tough when you've never been before and it's like, oh, but I feel like Australia has a huge appeal.
Yeah.
Now, could I see if we were back in time, I never even would have considered you going to Europe because you're just such a Australia. Like I could see you in Australia.
Okay.
I think just because you're from Florida, the bathing suit collection, like the whole shebang. But I had to ask.
No, that's a good question. Yeah. But you were holding down the fort here.
I was.
Boston,
I was putting in work. You can do
both. Like, what's been going on with your summer?
Honestly, I've been living my best life. I feel like I've finally found a really good balance of getting my work done, having my personal time, spending time with Joe, but also seeing friends. I feel like I've been working in a lot of the people I haven't been able to see in a while, and life's just been good. I feel like work's going well. We got a new girl on our team, so I'm kind of training her. And then we got the interns started, so there's been intern events. We've been going out for after work drinks with coworkers. And speaking to the interns and like training this new girl for the first time in my career, I'm like, wait, I actually know what I'm doing.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
There's something about when when the student becomes the teacher.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of makes you realize that imposter syndrome kind of goes away for a little bit.
Yeah.
Where it's like, wait, I actually deserve this job. Yeah. I can do this. So that's been making me feel really good. There's a couple things. I've been to the lake a lot. 4th of July was incredible. I feel like the weather's just been nice. I've been outside going for walks.
I feel like you've seen friends that you haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, which has been really good. I always just feel so good when I see the people that I haven't seen in a while. And I would like to keep that going. Like that. Yeah, all's been good. I'm just happy to have you back. My life feels incomplete when when I know that you're not in a hour, vicinity of me.
Yeah.
So happy to have you back. Hopefully you're here for a little bit now.
I am here. I'm here to stay. Some weekend trips, but not gone for long. I miss the city so much, and that was like refreshing too. I feel like I was like, I don't know if I missed. I think I was just excited for like the next phase.
Yeah.
Like, thank God I came up to Boston the couple days before I left for a month.
Yeah.
To move into my place, because it was really nice to have a place to come back to that was like already set up to be like my home. Now that I'm in this new place, like I just feel like my life is elevated a little bit.
Definitely.
Like, the location is prime. I have a rooftop. I have a stoop. It's stoop girl summer right now.
We love us. I was on your stoop before you were drinking Aperol spritzes with your roommate.
You were. So if anyone doesn't know what a stoop is, I honestly didn't understand the concept till I lived with one. It's basically like a walkway up to like a brownstone in Boston. But my unit has its own individual stoop. Typically, like, there's a walkway to the building, which there is that. But then we very fortunately have one for ourselves as well. And so, yeah, we sit on it and just like people watch, and people like look at us like, who are these girls that have their own stoop?
No, it's straight out of a movie. Ciara and I went over to have a little stoop happy hour with Soph. You guys all know Soph because she was on the pod. And she made us Aperol spritzes. She brought the record player over, opened up the doors, and we were literally playing a record and drinking Aperol spritzes, talking, just girl talk about life. And I was like, this is out of a movie.
Yeah.
Straight out of a movie. We could not stop smiling. Like, life is just so good.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, we had no outdoor space at our last place, and now we have like 2 to choose from. And my instinct is like rooftop. Duh. It's like a rooftop. But Camila and Soph, who have been living there for like a month already, prefer the stoop over the rooftop.
I love this.
Like,
stoop.
what a concept. Maybe just because like
So
anyone
unique.
could have a rooftop,
Yeah.
but no one could, like, not just anyone could have a stoop.
100%.
But yeah, so it feels like a whole new place. No,
I'm excited for you though.
Yes, me too. And just some stability.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I lost touch with myself because
Okay.
I lost touch. Not that, but it's just like I didn't have time to like sit with myself and like journal the way that I normally do.
Yeah.
Or like make my to-do list, which is like that's the stuff that you give up to have these really cool like experiences in a very fast moving life, which I would never like prefer to not have that.
Right.
But now that I'm back, it kind of leans into this topic that we want to talk about this episode is like as a human being.
I know. And this is such a good question. So today's episode, we're going to talk about this idea of hitting that identity crisis that I hit just about every week. I feel like I'm a completely different person than I was a week ago. And I will literally look back on something I did or even content I created or a photo I loved. And then the next week I'm like, that's not me. I don't know who that girl is. Like, I don't identify with her at all. And there's just so many questions at this stage in our lives where we're trying to figure out, like Court said, who we are.
Yeah. Even like Snapchat memes will pop up and I'm like, even from a year ago, and granted, your experiences, people you surround yourself with, like that's who shapes who you currently are. And that is different today than it was a year ago. But I'm like, it's so different. And it's just like, you're constantly changing. Like that's a good sign. But when you really stop to think about it, I feel like it does create this, I don't know, like some sort of, not an imposter syndrome. Like I don't even know the word for it. Just like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I doing the things that I'm interested in? Like, you can make your life what you want it to be, but I feel like especially now that we are out of college, right? Out of college, we didn't know what to do. We didn't know what our next step was. But then it was this first job out of college. Then it was finally, once we acclimated to that, like a year ago, it's like, okay, now we kind of know who we are. And I think us being in our almost mid-20s at this point, and us having had like a normal life, like we understand what our 9 to 5 is, we understand what we'd like to do post work, it's easy to question that once you've done that for so long.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that
it's not like we have a next step in mind.
Right. So we've kind of hit that wall where we've been doing the corporate life for a little bit. We got into the swing of things. We understand what's happening now. And we're finally getting to the point where there's not much of a learning curve or anything to really get used to anymore. So we've had more time to kind of sit with ourselves. And it's like, who am I? What am I going to do? And there's so many different avenues, and it's not planned out for us.
Yeah.
So going off of the work thing, it's like, I struggle with this a lot. I don't know if I should be living my best life and enjoy this moment of less responsibility that I'm going to have in the future. Should I be ending right at 5 p.m. and then going to happy hour? Should I, use all my PTO and maybe like during the day go grab lunch with somebody? Should I be working remotely on vacation somewhere? Or I don't know, like taking advantage of my young 20s, living my best life? Or is this a time where I grind it out? I'm working all the hours. I'm excelling in my corporate life. So future me is going to be like, wow, I have this life today because I was grinding in my. And I'm just constantly battling that.
I feel like those are two routes that society has like put in your mind, so that like you can only do one or the other. And obviously you can do both. That's what we preach.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you want to be that person to grind, you need to have like an end goal in mind. Like, yeah. I want to be the CEO. Like, I think what you need to do is decide where your priorities lie. Like,
I think that's the hard part though. I don't know my priorities. I don't know what I want. I want a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I want to and you can do both. That's kind of like, this is actually the perfect episode that embodies, I think, our entire message that we want to be putting out is I do a little bit of all of this, I think, that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
But it's also, I don't know. I'm also an extremist sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
I like being all in.
Yeah, you put all your balls in one basket.
So it's so hard.
You do.
Yeah, so it's really hard for me to choose one or not choose one. I want to choose one, but I just can't do that because either way I'm going to have some type of regret, And then you see all these people in their 30s and it's like, oh, enjoy your 20s. You're so young. You have no responsibility. You want to look back on the crazy days. And then here I am loving my 8 p.m. bedtime. And I'm like, I don't need to be a grandma right now.
Yeah.
I can stay up late. I'm young. My body's healthy.
Yeah.
I don't actually require that much sleep. And yeah, it's great sometimes. But I think I was telling this to you the other day. I started staying up and, quote, having fun on weekdays. And I was staying up until 10, which usually I have a freak out about. And I'm just fine. I can still wake up at 6 the next morning.
Yeah.
That's still 8 hours of sleep. Like, we're going to be okay. So it's okay to stay up a little bit later, but it's just something I'm learning with how far I can go on each end.
Yeah.
And it's just hard.
I know. Honestly, I think about that financially.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, not that I'm spending my money super like foolishly right now, but I'm living my life, and I know that if I kind of held back in certain situations, or like I didn't buy that Aritzia dress just because I wanted it, or like I didn't get a $5 coffee multiple days a week. You know what I mean? It's like when you're in that position, when you're 30, it's like I feel like when people say like enjoy your 20s, do whatever, like my mind kind of goes to that, like spending money, and then I don't want to wake up at whatever it is, like maybe the time to have kids or buy a home or whatever and be like, wait, I had so much fun in my 20s. This could relate to finances, could relate to life, like to profession, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And be like, oh fuck, like I wish I was more serious and whatever.
This
the
is
phases.
Yes.
But one thing that I do want to say, and like not to be morbid, but you just like never know like when your last day is.
Yep.
And you never know when your health is going to be stripped of you, or you never know when you're going to not have that person that you've always had. So honestly, that's been something that's always kind of driven my actions. And it's like, is this an experience, or is this like an opportunity or a moment that I'm going to be able to have again with someone, or doing whatever it is that I'm doing? So especially coming off of that European experience too, it's like, your point, like, of course you want to live comfortably and you want money, but like at the same time, work is not everything, and like it should never ever ever be, because at the end of the day, low key, you're just a number. If you're not in the C-suite, like, you're just a number. So it's like, put your time, do what you want to do to get to the point where you want to be in your career, but don't let that sacrifice other areas of your life.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Back to like the finance portion, that was something I wanted to talk about because I'm constantly going back and forth on that. My dad like saved all of his money because he came from nothing, and like that's how he was able to start his business. So he's constantly like, I've had a savings account since I was like 6 years old. Yeah, maybe that's an exaggeration, but like since my sister and I had gumball machines in his office, and like he taught us to save. So I'm constantly thinking, I should really just be putting all of my money away, like save it for when I want to buy a home one day, all these things. But then at the same time, I'm like, I'm so young and fun. I don't have a mortgage to pay for. No. I don't have kids to take care of. So I'm like, I'm going to live my life, but you also have to find a balance in between. But this is a little bit of a big news. I'm getting a boob job.
Hell yeah. I didn't think you were going to break it this early.
Yeah, I also didn't think it, but then I'm paying for a boob job.
Hell yeah.
But like, you're only young. What people are like, oh, wait till after you
have kids.
And I'm like, I'm in the best shape of my life. I want to be young and hot and beautiful and confident and
you are without a boob job.
Oh yeah, no, I love my boobs now, but it's just
something that you want and you deserve.
I wanted
and you
it
can
since
get
I
it.
was like 9 years old. So. Yeah. A lot of people couldn't justify, paying for that right now. And maybe it's not the best financial move, but
do what makes you happy.
Yeah. So maybe don't take knowing what to do.
At the end of the day, like, everyone's on their own track. Like, everyone can do what they want with their money or with their time. And like, you don't need to compare yourself. I feel like you just do whatever makes you happy in the moment. And like, that's literally all that matters.
Yeah. I think that was like my takeaway through this whole thing, because sometimes, again, I'm an extremist. I like to be all in or nothing. Yeah. But half of me wants to go so to the extreme because I know I'm in a best healthy self, but then I'm sacrificing all these other things that make me so happy. And then it puts the pressure on. I feel guilty. And the conclusion that I've come to is I'm just going to do whatever feels right in the moment.
Yeah. No, that's been something that's been on my mind too. It's like, I have always been, when I have the ability to, like, I've always been the person that goes to the gym every morning, or at least 4 to 5 times per week. Like, I eat clean because it makes me feel good. And these past like 3 or 4 months, like, I haven't had a home, therefore I haven't had a gym, therefore there's been like a lot of like normalcies in my routine that I just haven't had the luxury of having. And like, there are days where I'm like, oh fuck, like, I don't look the way that I did last year. I don't feel as confident in my body, which is just like a personal thing, just because I obviously hold high standards to myself. Like, I'm used to a certain type of physique or feeling. But then that's what I have to reframe it as. I was like, Courtney, would you want that, or would you want to be eating a fucking croissant in Paris right now? Right. And it's like, life is a give and take. You should not always compare yourselves to your past selves too, because you're just constantly evolving and growing, and like, you just got to do
there's like pie pieces that make up this whole pie too, like literally every area of your with my fashion sense. I don't know what my style is or where I want to be or how I want to be perceived. I feel like I do have a very loud personality, so sometimes I like to have the crazy outfits that nobody would wear, but also I want so bad to be that minimal. Like chic,
never.
all
Gosh,
neutrals.
You could never.
I know, but I want so bad to get rid of my whole closet and have only neutrals and not have to have a panic attack about what I'm wearing. But I'm like, is that me? Sometimes it's me, but usually it's not. But I want to be that. Yeah. And I could if I wanted to. If I wanted to make that choice, I could. But is that me, or is that just me being a wannabe? I think that's me being a wannabe, and that's not authentic to myself. And I don't know who I am. Like, I battle with this every single day.
Well, that's the beauty of it. It's like, you can be whatever you want to be. So it's a lot of pressure. You shouldn't think of it as like, who am I? It's like, who do I want to be today?
Okay, I think the important piece of that was today.
Yeah.
That's the part I'm missing, because I'm like, who do I want to be? And that's such a loaded question.
But also, why are you wondering that? Do you want to know the answer to that question so that you understand how other people are perceiving you, or do you want to know that? Like, where does the desire come from?
I think both. I mean, I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't know what my passions are. This has been a topic from the a thought that has been coming into my head a lot, especially like scrolling through TikTok. Like, I'll find these creators and I'm like, oh, they give off this certain vibe. Like, I like their vibe. And then it gets me thinking, what am I giving off? What do other people perceive me as? Is there one trait or quality or something that people see in me? And is that the way that I want them to perceive me? I don't know.
Well, that's where I need to cut you short, because every single person is going to perceive you differently. That's true. As much as you want to put a certain energy or put a certain like persona out there, how people perceive you is going to be like a reflection of themselves, or maybe what they want to see in themselves or what they wish they saw in themselves. Like, you can never go by that. But that's a very valid question. Like, especially if like you're a people person, you're a content creator, like you're going to want to understand and be able to control how people see you and what they think of you. But at the end of the day, that's never something that will be in your control. So I feel like you just have to figure out how to let that go a little bit. Yeah. But I can tell you from my perspective what I think people perceive of you.
All right, go ahead. Inflate my ego. Unless it's going to be bad. Then hold that part back. No, just kidding.
I think people perceive you as like, honestly, a girl who, despite what you think, who like knows what she wants and knows how to get it. And I think you just come across very confidently and very like, I am going to do things I want to do, and I don't really care what people think about, because you'll post a video of you and Joe on like a scooter going through the city and being lovey-dovey, and then you can also go out with your friends from CIS, which is like a different side of you that you're very vocal about. Like, no matter what you're doing or who you're doing it with, you're vocal and you're not afraid to share that with the world. And I think that's something that people could find admirable, because I think you're very dynamic and you have a lot of different interests, and like you putting it out there and you doing it very well, like just you being able to put content together and like make those TikToks and do those things, I just think is like an admirable quality. Yeah. So I feel like people see you as confident. People see you as like dynamic, because you do a lot of different things. They see you as a late girly.
So true. You're only saying that because you stalked my TikTok today and it's
literally
all late content.
Literally. I told Ash I was gonna go do like a 20-minute like workout on my roof or something, and instead I spent the entire 20 minutes going through every single one of her TikToks.
I've posted a lot, so
for
you
the
did
algorithm.
have a lot of content to catch up on.
Yes,
but I mean, those are all great things, and I think that's how I most identify too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's just me. That's who I've always been.
Exactly.
So I always have to remind myself of that. But I think a lot of this also comes into, how do I want to be perceived at work? Like, do half of me wants to just literally not, I want to dress in basically the same outfit in all neutrals every day with a slicked back bun and go in with my glasses and just like be a smart, like, I don't want people to look at me and be like, oh, who is this girl? She's talkative and loud, and she definitely gets drunk on the weekend.
Never dull your shine. People
I know,
are people. Like, workers have other things outside of work, but that's like society and corporate America making you think that,
and
like,
all
you
the
can't.
White men who I work for who still think that you need to be
white men,
and I hate them all.
Fuck white men and just men in general.
Just men in general, but
they don't have to be white.
But sometimes you have to play the game of. I think I heard this on the Skinny Confidential or something. I want to say Michael Bosstick said it, but he was like, whether you want to acknowledge this or not, like, there are rules to life, and whether you want to abide by them or not, it's up to you. But if you want to get successful, you kind of have to follow the rules. You have to play the games.
To a certain extent.
To a certain extent.
And then differentiate yourself in random little ways.
Right. But like that does involve, you know, changing yourself for adapting yourself for different audiences, whether it's like putting on something for, as much as I'd like to say you can be your exact same person to everybody.
Yeah. No.
You actually can't.
Yeah.
If you want to like get to where you want to be. And that's a hard pill, I think, for a lot of people to swallow. And that's something that I battle with a lot with when it comes to work, when it comes to meeting, I don't know, even like my boyfriend's family at first. Like, how do I want to come off? Like, I don't want to show them like too much at first.
Yeah.
They have to warm up to me. Like, before I open my mouth, like, how am I being perceived? That people first judge you based on what you're wearing because you haven't said anything yet. How you hold yourself. And I don't know, there's just so many things that go into it. And I think it's okay to be different for everybody. I think that's a quality that a lot of people should learn, or a skill. Yeah. It's being very adaptive. Adaptable.
Yeah.
I said it like 75% confidently. We're working on it.
No, I feel like adaptive is a word too.
Adaptive, but maybe just not the correct verbiage.
Yeah, adaptable.
I also think I've been using verbiage wrong. That's been a big thing in my book. You can say both. You can do both. Oh, Mitchell's FaceTiming me. Hi, Mitch, if you're listening.
Should we answer?
Honestly, yeah. Hey, you're on the pod.
Mitchell, you better listen to this episode.
Hi, how we doing?
Guys, he's literally sure.
What a bad time for me to call. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't know. Do we have any questions for Mitch?
Do you know who
I got a pretty good idea, but, you know, I feel like in your 20s, you're still figuring it out. Don't put too much.
Yeah. That's what we're just saying. It's not even in your 20s, Mitch. It's just like you never know. You define who you are.
I completely agree. And a lot of people like try to carry the weight of the world on their shoulders.
That's fact.
Wow, you're so wise, Mitch.
So inspirational.
Enjoy.
All right, love you.
Illy, bye.
Like you're a friend. Bye.
Bye. Something that Mitch always says to me is I'll always tell him that I love him. And then after he always goes, I like you as a friend. That's what he says every time, like since we were children.
I like you as a friend.
Like, love you, Mitch. He goes, I like you as a friend.
That's funny.
I
don't even remember where we were.
I don't know where we were either, but that made me so happy. Honestly, I think we could probably wrap it up. I think people are getting the vibe that we're trying to put. But essentially, I just want to tell you all that it's okay. You don't have to know who you are. And it's okay to be a super planner, organized person, but you can also be messy and chaotic. Like, you can have different layers to yourself. And just because you're one thing doesn't mean you have to be 100% and identify with that. And also, you can change over time. Just because you liked this one thing last week and you really resonated with that, you can be something completely different and change your mind the next week.
Yeah.
And that's something I have to constantly remind myself.
Also, just like, you're not alone. It's so nice to know that you're not alone in life and in these like battles that you typically have with yourself and these mind games that you play. Like, honestly, just vocalize them to people, vocalize them to your friends, vocalize them to your family. In our DMs, like, we all go through very similar things, and sometimes it's just very hard to realize because it's not typically things that you want to talk about. But yeah, we're all just figuring it out, and we're all just trying to do both and whatever that means to each and every one of us. But yeah, I have no idea who I am right now, and that's totally okay. And it's okay if you're feeling similarly, or if you know exactly who you are, kudos to you. You probably won't feel the same way at some point in your life. So it's just like ebbs and flows, and you just got to deal with the punches.
100%. And then I touched on this earlier, but I think a good thing to take with you every day is that whatever you're feeling in the moment and whatever you want to do and want in that moment is most authentically you. Yeah. So just because you're the crazy going out person all the time, but that tonight you want to stay in and do nothing, don't feel like you have to keep up with that persona. You can stay in if that's what you want to do. And at the end of the day, you're never going to regret doing something that you truly wanted in the moment.
Yeah. Also, just something I want to say, even kind of going back to the point about you saying that you needed to be adaptable in different situations and kind of like maybe tame certain sides of you depending on the environment that you're in. I agree. Or maybe that's just like a female thing. I don't know if guys think about that too much. Like, that's a whole other topic of conversation.
Honestly, so true.
But even you adapting, you're not going to adapt the same way that I'm going to adapt.
Yeah.
You're not going to adapt the same way that Joe would adapt. So even though you feel as if your self is not shining through because it's not how you perceive yourself, like, you are still yourself in those moments. There's just different ways in which you're portraying yourself, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So like, definitely be aware of that too. Like, the way that you kind of tame yourself in a boardroom with all men might be a little bit different to how I am. And like, you don't need to act a certain way. Like, there's no like rule book on how you need to act to get to X, Y, and Z. So even if you are taming yourself, you still are being yourself in some regard. So that's going to take you places if it's meant to.
Yep. I love that.
But
great point.
This felt like really good.
This felt like therapy again.
I honestly feel like we could go on and on and on, and maybe we can continue this topic at another point.
Yeah.
But it's Friday night, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Oh, wait. One other thing I want to mention before we go into tonight's plans. Court and I spontaneously went to a Sox game for our first ever reunion.
Yes.
2 nights ago. It was so fun.
Court's crush at it again.
Yeah.
He was walking by Fenway and he's like, should we go to a game? And I was like, sorry, I have plans with Ashley. And then he was like, should we just all go? And I was like, yeah, probably.
Yep. Court and I will do our catch up at the game.
Yeah.
That's our thing. We have our best moments at a sports game. So off brand, but apparently it's part of our brand now. Stay tuned. Literally. Tonight we're going to a housewarming, but first we're going to stoop it and then maybe go to the Burren in Somerville. Yeah. I've never been, but I need to go before I move out.
Have you eaten dinner?
No.
Should we pick up some Thai food on the way home? There's a Thai food across the street from my apartment.
That could be a major vibe.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. It was so good to talk to you with Courtney here together. The family is back together.
Yeah, we are. Guys, it feels so right to be here right now in this chair in front of Ashley, in front of you all.
I love that for us.
And with that, you can't really get rid of me now. I'm here to stay. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Talk to you next week.
Aileen.